What's going on? Welcome back to another brand new episode of Skywalking Through the League. I am your host and Charlie Ashby's fifth favorite, guilty little Catholic boy, Bill Sheehy, and I'm joined as always by my Jedi partner in crime, Trey Mitchell. Trey, how are you, my friend?
Woo! 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 This lightsaber was the very first thing I ever purchased with my very first check for my very first job.
Hell yeah!
And it is amazing.
It's the Skywalker saber? Is that the Force FX?
Yeah,
or what's
yeah. It's like Force FX Skywalker saber.
Mhm.
Had this like
That's
I
hot.
bought this in 2014, so I've had this for 8 years. So
Heck yeah! I have all my Star Wars stuff. I've got Rey's saber now.
that's sick.
That my friend got me in at Galaxy's Edge, and it was a last minute decision. I was between that and Cal's, and I was like, let's get Rey's, and I'm so glad I
think
did.
Rey's is cooler than
Man,
Cal's personally.
Cal's
is like pretty cool. Like I
think so spot on to
Yeah.
how that lightsaber looks and feels. Like I know that there are probably a lot better dueling sabers or whatever that work really, really well. But man, it just feels authentic. And every time I turn it on and it does the little ray, it just sounds a little bit different. And I like it. It's just been a joy to have, but I'll be able to play with that soon. And once I get my new recording space figured out. But anyway, how are you, my friend? How's everything going on in Florida? Were you guys hit by the hurricane, or how you doing?
Yeah, I mean, where I live in St. Pete, Florida, was pretty much spared.
Mhm.
There was like some trees fell over and stuff, but
Mhm.
people south to me in Fort Myers, that's where it got hit a lot harder. So they're down there. I mean, things are like, we evacuated to Jacksonville, and when we came back on Saturday, like a ton of cars and trucks were driving with like generators on the back of them.
Really?
Just like you saw like all these trucks that just were like civilian trucks, and they had like just like a piece of paper taped to it that's like emergency flooding response or emergency hurricane response and stuff. So I got lucky, but I mean, it's bad.
I've seen pictures of Naples, Florida. I've been there a couple times. I had a old partner who lived there at one point, and just to see like the places that I had been, it's just gone, man. Like just filled with water. I don't know how people recover. It's heartbreaking.
Well,
and
I saw something on the news before it hit, and like someone because you can get hurricane insurance.
Yeah.
And like some companies like cancel your policy like days before the hurricane. It's like,
that's so shit.
Like, yeah.
And that happened a little bit here, didn't it? Like
people, what do you mean?
Like they canceled their insurance. I saw like a story about it, like tornado insurance or hurricane insurance, and damn, that's and we'll try to put some links up to some resources where you can help people of Florida, because we're all about giving, whether it's the people in Eastern Kentucky or the people in Florida, wherever the need is most. That's where we'll send resources. So we'll have something on our Twitter to get some resources. But so I'm glad that you're safe. I'm glad that everybody's okay. I know that Sienna is doing good. I saw her.
Yes.
Am I still saying it right? Sienna.
Last week you said Cinna.
Or
two weeks ago.
Is she?
It's Sienna. It's the character from Lost Stars.
I know, but I don't know. Like, I can hear it in my head, but then like when I say it, there's like a disconnect. Sienna. She's Sienna, not a Cinna. Okay,
Cinna,
cool.
Yeah,
Cinna. No. Okay, gotcha. Well, I'm glad everybody's good. I'm glad Sienna is doing well. We're gonna do our very, very best to not mispronounce names today, because that was a big part of last episode.
Yeah.
So with that, let's get into our Andor discussion. So last week or last episode, we talked about the premiere with our good friend Reagan. And I think on the whole, we really enjoyed where the premiere is, and how it crying, Boop. Hello, my sweet, sweet Boop. They are here, and I love them. Anyway, I don't know why the spirit of a German boy took over me, but it happened.
That's a
So
quote.
sorry. So how do you feel about these last two episodes of Andor? I know the premiere, our opinions were pretty much that we liked it. We liked where we thought where it was going. What have been your favorite? What were your favorite parts of these two episodes? And have they met your expectations?
Andor is phenomenal. There's nothing wrong with the show. Like I don't really have any negative criticism for it. I guess the only thing is like I feel as if like okay, so with the Mandalorian, those episodes felt like very much weekly episodes. Like I was okay with like getting one a week. With Andor, I kind of feel like, damn, like I kind of wish I had maybe 2 episodes at a time or 3 episodes at a time. Just because like this week's episode specifically like felt it was such a good episode, but as like TV, I wish I had gotten more. Like I wish I saw the next part of the story too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like because it's so good, and I feel like the first 3 episodes, like those were sort of blocked as one big episode. Because I think the climax to episode 3 or the finale to episode 3 was a very much the ending of that 3 episode arc. Like I think those episodes were very much kind of one long one.
Mm-hmm.
Same with like 4 and 5, but we haven't gotten them as one episode. Oh, manifesto. But the show's amazing. Like I can just feel the tension that's building. I can feel that there's a battle coming or there's some sort of action thing coming. And no, it's so good. The writing is phenomenal. The direction is phenomenal. The acting is great. It feels so cool. And I really love that Star Wars has the ability to tell so many different kinds of stories. You know, we can get some story with like space wizards and the Force and stuff. And then we get this other one where we just kind of cut into people's lives and they talk about kyber crystals and the kyber crystal on his neck. And it's really, really, really good. I'm excited to get the whole season and then kind of binge it all in a day. But yeah, it's amazing.
So you're saying that you vibe with the show so far, is what you're telling me.
Vibes pretty good.
Immaculate.
Dude, this is a show that I'm getting in the year 2022. I'm getting new shots on Coruscant. Like
that's true.
I got freaking Daredevil back today, and I got Coruscant back yesterday. And those are 2 things that I hold very dear to my heart. So
I do too, man. I do too.
Week.
Yeah, I am also vibing with Andor so far. I think, man, it just like all the Star Wars shows that we have gotten have been good or great. Like I've loved them.
What has been your favorite?
Obi-Wan. But like this just feels this just feels different, man. It feels like it's on another plane of existence. And like I adore Obi-Wan, I adore Mando, I adore everything, but like it just feels like the best of what we got of Obi-Wan, the best what we got of Mando, like it feels like this is just a little sharper, you know? It feels like it I don't know what, like I said last week, I think that Star Wars, in order to survive, needs to evolve. And I think you're seeing this probably isn't going to be what, you know, every Star Wars show is going to be for the foreseeable future. But like to do something completely different, new, it's like I said, it feels like a step up. It feels sharper. To get that on a weekly basis, even like on the quote unquote, and I hate using this word because I know there's no such thing as like it's true filler, but like filler episodes, like it's doing a really, really good job of setting the stakes and showing you these characters. It's a ground level Star Wars show that shows the atrocities and the true evil of the Empire. And we were talking about the manifesto earlier. You know, Karl Marx would probably look down on the show and say this MF is spitting the way Nerix is going. It's just to me, it just feels like a necessary evolution of Star Wars, and I am very, very excited to see where it goes.
There are times when I'm watching this where I don't even kind of remember that we're in Star Wars.
Yeah,
like specifically
it's
with our like good people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just said good people. There are also
Good in
bad
quotation
people.
marks. Yes.
There are also bad people in this show.
That's a good
and
point.
there are also bad
A
people
really
on
good
the
point.
screen. All in
whoa,
known bad person.
Whoa.
I see what you
Is
did
that
there.
true?
I see what you did. That was in radio what we call a segue.
It was like a 5 out of 10 segue. It wasn't my best stuff, but I was trying to fit you in.
I thought you were about to make an extremely dumb take, and then we'd have to cook you later online. But you ended up actually saving it and coming in and doing some real broadcasting, which I really appreciated. Hello, boys.
Hello, friend. How are you?
Oh, just look at this.
Oh, here it's happening. So we were talking about where, you know, what we think about Andor so far.
Yeah.
If it's meeting our expectations, exceeding our expectations. And Trey talked about how, and Trey and I both have kind of talked about how it is all the Diaz from Fortnite. It's that one.
No idea what's going on with that.
Nobody does do the Fortnite dance.
I'm gonna accept that. Every time I'm around Trey, my glasses fog up. Even
because he's hot. Because he's hot.
I gotta change to the crappier ones.
So, what do you think about Andor so far, Alden? Just go from there.
I love this show. I think that it has challenged me personally in really good ways in terms of what I like, because I'm such a Star Wars is pulp, Star Wars is fantasy, Star Wars moves at a certain pace, and this is the thing that has said, hey, we're going to kind of break and twist and mess with what you, a lifelong fan, think this is supposed to be, but we're going to do it so well that you're going to be on board. We're going to earn your respect very quickly, knock you on your ass, and then still end up being Star Wars, because those first two were so, this is a little strange. There's, you know, this racism and this cop stuff and the implied sex and new swear words, real world swear words. And
Jared was so happy.
Oh yeah, he was. This is all about.
He loves a good slur.
He loves this.
Stop! Don't. That's keep it in goons.
Big fan of the primo bastards. But then episode 3, it all sort of crystallizes, and you're like, oh, we're back in Star Wars. Like you got the old mentor bringing the young guy away from home. There's a larger world. There's a bigger fight. There's all this stuff, and it all sort of came together. But it had to be different, and it had to be really. And like you can make arguments for Rogue One and Solo being not fantasy, but they are. Like it's like Rogue One probably gets closer. Solo is very like young guy from the streets, very hopeful, gets wrapped up. There's a 4-armed monkey. There's Darth Maul at the end. Like
you've kind of described Star Wars anyway. Like you've described A New Hope. Like it's
still that. It's very consistent. It's very consistent.
I was
the end.
Go ahead, Bill. No, you go. You're good.
The end of episode 3. This was my literal reaction.
Scotty, you know, our Lord and Savior Scotty J-Ro. You know, I was saying earlier, it as much as I love Obi-Wan, as much as I love all the Star Wars shows that have come before, I don't know what it is. It just, I think this show feels a little sharper. The writing is a little more elevated. Is that a dumb take? And
no,
if it is,
no.
Character.
It's like the way I described it. I was telling you guys this in a clandestine secret no one knows about, a group chat that we have. That this one I almost feel weird doing episode discussions about it, because it works against that format. It's not like, you know, Mandalorian, very, very episodic, has an overarching story. Kenobi was more one story, the whole like 6-part movie thing, but still could be broken down into the Tatooine one, the Dayu one, the what's the other planet called? Not Jabeam.
Oh God,
I'm not very good at Star Wars.
The one where he has the Mirage of Anakin, and the Mapuzo.
There he is.
The Mapuzo one, the Fortress one, the Jabeam one, and then the fight one. Like it still kind of works that way.
Wars question.
This you got, yeah. Talk about getting cooked. Your revenge. You should have more of a
Anakin
revenge.
and I just tough.
That's why you're the Anakin of your duo. It's not just because you're handsome. It's also because you were nuked
yeah.
and then
alive when everyone
bitter.
was watching.
But like, you know, you look at like a Star Wars book, you're not going to review this much of it, you know? And that's how this almost feels sometimes because it's so decompressed.
That Path of Deceit.
That is Quest for the Hidden City. That comes after Path of Deceit. Sorry for the dog barking. But yeah, this is the High Republic
Mando's
Phase
allowed
2.
on the podcast.
I think
No, it's actually not him. It's one of the bulldogs. Mando's straight chilling over here. Like a good boy.
It's funny you said that though, Alden, because I was before you got on, I was kind of saying that my only not like issue with the show, but like if the only thing that I could say is that I wished not that I wish this was more like The Mandalorian or Kenobi, but like it's tough, I guess, getting that episodic release when you're only getting such a small portion of the story, and I don't feel like the episodes are like necessarily made for TV. Like Kenobi, even Kenobi, yeah, like Kenobi wasn't as much, but Mandalorian, I just want more. But
yeah, like they end on downbeats. Like that was one of the first things I said about the show. When we saw the first 3, I turned to Molly Damon was sitting next to me, and I was like, "Did that feel like
that's casual? That's just casual. Just casual. Just
just the best.
Molly,
some of the best.
I turned to Jesus Christ and said, "What's up?"
I turned to that's like, I think it was in Discord the other day. We were like, white women must be stopped except Molly Damon. And then there was like a few people that made the list. But yeah, like the whole idea of the first one, the second one, and now 4 and 5, it sort of has set up this like, we're going to do a downbeat, and then like a ripping guitar solo, and then a downbeat and a downbeat. And it sort of feels like now in 4 and 5, you've seen people, I don't agree with these people, but we've seen people make the argument 4 and 5 should really be 1. It's a lot of mission setup. And I understand what they mean, even though I think we do need all of this. Like it's all necessary. Mothma's daughter, the stuff with Deidre, going back to Ferrix and setting up the office. Like there's a big difference between episode 4 and 5. 5 has its own events, but I get why they're saying that because it almost feels like they should be dropping 3-part arcs at once.
Absolutely. And that's,
I think I agree with that.
And that's, I know you're going to hate this because I kind of hate it. It's the best version of the quote unquote filler. Like, cause like when you're dealing with an episodic structure, like there are, and once again, I hate saying filler because like I know that it's.
I know what you mean though, like for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
like,
it's just
like, character.
They're setting
like
up.
groundwork.
They're setting it up really, really well. You know, just from the manifesto to the guy from the bear.
He's so good. Yeah,
all those characters are so effing good.
You didn't say corner.
Exactly. So like
that's what he should have said to Cassian when he put a knife at his throat. You didn't say corner.
Behind.
Yeah.
Bill, have you seen the bear?
Have I, Bill Sheehy, who has worked in restaurants, and
I just don't remember you talking about the bear.
I don't think.
I love the bear.
As a friend group, I don't think we talked about it much.
The bear,
it was
like,
the radar.
and I know this is.
I know Connor loves it.
I love that show.
It's so good.
So it's so realistic to like working in a restaurant, especially like
it's like
spot on
seasons of
like
TV
that episode where like they got like the huge rush. Like I've lived that, and
episode 7.
Yeah, it's so bad, but it's made me so anxious in the best way.
It's like Whiplash meets Chef.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So like I said, it's kind of the best version of filler because you're setting up the stakes. We're getting all the different characters' motivations. But like I saw a lot on Twitter that a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people would say that like, oh, it just not a lot happened in the episode, which I kind of disagree with. A lot of stuff did happen. And they're setting up to something like Alden said, a humongous fucking rock ballad, just a solo. It's gonna explode the next episode, and I know it's going to.
Well, that's the thing, is it's like they keep saying like there's this incredible phenomenon that happens once every 3 years, and it's coming, and even the Imperials want to see it, and it all hinges on this job. They only have 9 minutes to do the job. We find out in this one, in episode 5, that they're not even sure. Like they didn't even know how to really. They knew how to fly it, but they didn't know how to balance its weight. They could have crashed. And
it feels so real world too, because like if there were like guerrilla, like they're guerrilla fighters. Like they might not know how to fly a plane, or they might not know how to fly a tie. It just, there are such like subtle little ways that I'm like, okay, this feels real.
Mhm.
And
Well, like
I'm
especially, can we talk about? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's in the show notes. But the TIE fighter in this last episode,
mhm,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't say that I forget that this is in Star Wars, because I am, like, I think we're all giant Star Wars fans, so like we're aware of it.
big and
But
true.
sometimes I forget that it's in like this. It's in Star Wars, but like there are TIE fighters in this show
Yeah.
too. Like I almost
Mhm.
forget about that.
Well,
sometimes.
Aldani, like it's just Scotland. So like you get
It really
Scotland,
is.
and
Like,
then like
the
you've got a
least-
TIE fighter. Like
Yeah.
like that's what's so like it. Like I said, it feels so ground level. But let's see. It's right.
No, yeah, and it's like and again, it comes back to the quality of the storytelling and the passion for the story earns my respect, despite, because in another thing, like I've been hard on Rogue One since it came
Mhm.
out, like because I've always felt like it's sort of a little embarrassed to be Star Wars. Like it kind of has like this, like, we want to get into this, but it's like you've still got your own Akbar, and you've got Vader, and you've got your, like, you keep telling me hope throughout that movie while also trying to be the gritty one. This one has no illusions about what it is, and it goes, and things I would normally resist, like not enough creatures, not enough weirdness, not enough this, that, and the other thing. It just goes, it's like, yeah, you're gonna look at just Scotland and you're gonna love it because
and I do.
it's that good.
So what do you think the difference between, like you just said, you're not
Yeah.
a giant fan of Andor. What do you, or so you're not a giant fan of Rogue One. What do you think the difference is between this and Rogue One for you?
I think that, well, the real world element that, it's like litigating movie news. Like we don't, have to get too into that, but it's just so clear to me that Rogue One is Tony Gilroy mishing and mashing like pieces of a thing that already existed, because we know he took
Yeah.
over the movie and things.
Yeah.
So like there are certain things that are completely, like, I dunk on this a lot, like in group chats and stuff, because I do think it's funny and weird, but it really is a good example. The prologue of that movie is very much in line with like Andor. That's a very, Krennic and Galen on the farm and all that, and what happens and the death of Lyra. It's super good. And then it hits you with the hokiest, most out of place title sequence in any Star Wars thing ever. I know Jerry loves it. Watch Bombad Cast later.
I was talking about that to just like 3 hours ago. I was like, I'm not a big fan of the title sequence because the music is pretty corny too.
It's so
Like,
cheese. Like it doesn't fit. And that movie has like 20 of those kinds of things where it's like, what is you can sort of tell like that the Saw arc is sort of pieced together to me. Like it doesn't have like a consistent thunderous, this is what we're about. Like Cassian and Jin change each other, but the movie, I don't really know how it changes each other. And like I like to think I'm a decently smart person, but like they get into an argument, then at no point do we get to see her synthesize her personality with those ideas and like be like, he's right. No, all of a sudden it's I'm gonna go do the speech, but then when the speech is over, he's already come around. There's not a lot of resolutions to the things that have happened, and that's my opinion. But for an Andor, it goes out of its way to say, if you want to know why someone is the way they are, you're gonna know.
Yep.
Like that's what this one is. Everybody has their own rebellion, is what they sort of say.
I was listening to Force Center's
Here, hold on. Let me show this real quick. Our good friend Chet Lemon, like Rogue One, Andor won't hit its stride until the Dr. Avezin cameo. Absolutely right, Chet.
Agreed.
Agreed. But keep going on. Sorry.
But no, yeah, it's just like it's all fleshed out in terms of how we know why Skeen is the way that he is. We know why Luthen is the way that he is. To a certain degree, there's still a lot of mystery there. We know exactly what Mothma's going through. It's all character. And so, you both were bringing up the point that we all three disagree with, of nothing happened. And it's like, well, people being people is stuff happening. Action is not story. Action serves story. And it doesn't need that. Like when you go back to Star Wars, people that like love it, like we do. When you talk about even the biggest action thing, think of your favorite Star Wars action scene. You don't really like it because it's just cool. You like it because of like what it means, who's in it, what happens, what gets said, what the
Twilight
dynamic
of the
is.
Apprentice. I agree.
Mhm.
Twilight of the Apprentice is a perfect example. Like as a piece of like animation, it's really pretty and well done and well choreographed and
Yeah.
designed, but it means something because you care about like what that means for the people. The moment in Twilight of the Apprentice is not any of the lightsaber strikes. It's right before and right after.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Well, speaking of the moment, let's talk about Mon Mothma, because I don't know what it is about Genevieve O'Reilly, but like
It's called beauty.
True.
Mon
Good
Milfma.
point. Stop.
Milkman, man.
Please stop.
I just thought of that. I'm sure someone else has.
That's really, really good. What do we think about her so far? Because like, I think what this show is doing really, really well is showing Coruscant from a ground level, showing Mon Mothma's motivations. Like, there are some like devastating, like emotional scenes that like she has with her family. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think about Mon Mothma so far? I have a question to go off that later, going on towards her conversation with Luthen. But what do you guys think of Mon Mothma so far? Any notes? Any criticisms?
I'm just surprised Mon Mothma is able to put up with her husband a lot of the same way that we all, as a friend group, put up with Jared, the Dark Jedi.
Oh my God!
That was like a 7 out of 10 segue. You cranked that one up.
The Mon Mothma.
That was left field.
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. I was just getting ready to text you guys that I have until about 8:30 until I have to record my own Andor stuff. Hi.
Who needs that?
Hello.
We should all just start doing one show. What do you guys think about that? We should cancel all the shows and just do one super show every week. No, not even a network. Just like Goons, but like lowercase written in Comic Sans. And we just talk. No more shows.
The Goon Cast.
The Goon. Oh, stop it! You're giving me a good idea. Jared, what do you think about?
Yes, Daddy. What?
I prefer Mr. Dr. Professor Daddy, but anyway, tell me what you think about Mon Mothma so far.
I think Mon Mothma is being characterized in a very fascinating way so far in this show. I think that we're really getting into the fact that she is currently still part of the problem. I'm not one when it comes to real life politics to say that electoral politics are completely for naught and pointless. They're not. Real consequences come of them, as we've seen in the real world. But right now with the Empire, I think it's kind of been proven that there's no way to fix this from the inside out. And in many ways, Mon Mothma, past the fall of the Empire, continues to be a part of the problem by not taking the rising threat of the First Order seriously. This show and Star Wars canon has not made a point of putting Mon Mothma up on a pedestal. I like that she's fallible. I like that she's incredibly fascinating. And I like the fact that her daughter, and this is my personal interpretation of that interaction, that her daughter sees her mother as a poser because she's right. But her daughter,
I would throw in, it's also the message of like, what a waste of potential, because you see which parent has his hooks.
Oh,
in
yeah.
That kid. Yeah,
absolutely. But that's the thing, is that like she sees that Mon Mothma's a poser. She doesn't get that Mon Mothma knows she doesn't mean what she's saying, because what she means to say and do is bring the Empire to its knees.
Is in the background, yeah.
She
and
just
so
can't
the dad
say the quiet part out loud yet.
Yeah, exactly. And Perrin, the dad has to a teenager this like, well, dad tells it like it is.
Yeah,
dad
does not tell. He doesn't know the name of his drivers. Like that's
and then what's worse though is that he does know. That's what's worse, is that she says you know his name. It's that he thinks he's above having to use it, and that makes it so much worse. And what I love about Mothma's arc, not to interrupt you, Jared, but just like to add on, like to give us our endpoint, Mothma is much like Obi-Wan Kenobi in the sense that their first appearance was their last one, unless you count publishing. You know, there is Mothma after the Jedi, but screen, we got the fully formed Mothma first, in the same way that we got Ben Kenobi. So everything after that is contextual, prequelizing, flushing out. So when you have this woman that's like I was there in the apartment doing the petitions and the delegation of the 2000 and trying to, stop this. Then I tried to work in it. Then you add Rebels and it's the working and it's not working. Now I'm a fugitive. And by the time of Jedi, she's on the flagship with the fish people, with the Wookiee, with the smugglers, with the gamblers. It's painting this picture of somebody that's like, she never is going to stop being hopeful or believing in systems.
Yeah.
It's up the New Republic, but she realizes eventually you got to punch a mother effer in the face. Eventually, she's going to be the one that says, many Bothans died. Go blow that thing up.
And that's why, I think that why her and Luthen's relationship is so interesting, because like that's her way of punching people in the face. Like she wants to, that's how she wants to help people, how she wants to send her message. I'm still curious about what Luthen's deal is, like, because as it's been, countlessly memed since it came out, but his like true like disguise where he's coming into, like, he's putting his wig on, he's doing all that, I think is such a interesting small like act. Like I think it's so well acted that through that entire
Absolutely, it's so nuanced. There's
Many
like
have tried.
it's almost like how do you put it? It's kind of like it's almost like the Hulk. There's a pain to it. It hurts to keep doing this transformation for him, because we Alden, you and I talked, or again Connor as well, obviously talked about this whenever you were on Knights of the Nerd Republic last week. Like there's an element to Luthen. I don't even want to say sad clown, which is not a sad clown, but like there's an element of like, I feel like, very Luthen is who he was.
Yeah.
He's not that guy anymore.
That exists. I firmly believe that exists. I know there's
That
like the fan theories, like, did he use resources to create that? I really don't. I really think that he was a guy that was there at the opera during the Plagueis scene.
Yeah.
And I
absolutely.
think that, and he's,
Man, if there's a scene in Andor where there's a flashback and he's just like,
that's someone at like Marvel Comics right now is
so
like
hot. That'd be so hot.
What scenes can we put him into?
So good. You mentioned Hulk, Jared. I think it's more like Wolverine, because Hugh Jackman Wolverine, when he's talking about his claws coming out.
Yeah,
does
that
it
too.
Hurt?
Yeah.
Does it hurt? Yep, every time. So like that.
By the way, you just referenced a 22-year-old film. If you really want to feel old, that is disgusting.
I am 28 years old. And that's crazy to me. God. And I remember seeing it in theaters. Good Lord.
I keep forgetting that you guys are all so much older than me.
I keep forgetting that you're so much younger.
How old are you,
similar.
Jared?
I'm 24.
Hold on.
I'm also 24, bitch.
24, bitch. Goo nuts. Anyway.
Goo nut.
I just love that. It's just like, I love that it's random, but there's a choice in it. It's put together like Lucasfilm, but with a capital N, unlike Lucasfilm.
It's just part of the rich tapestry of goons. Like, but
Scotty got very scared today before the Mario trailer, and Alden bit.
I hate that guy. I really do.
You really believe that, man?
Look, we don't need to make it all about this, but let me just say,
I can't put Scotty's comment on the
screen. This man works, in a public place with youths and stuff. He says he's very scared.
It's a private institution, actually.
Yeah, Xavier's school.
Yeah.
But Scotty teaches goonery for Charles Xavier.
Scotty is an Omega level goon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, absolutely is.
I am the Magneto to Scotty's Charles Xavier.
That's true. Bring up a Charlie's comment real quick. I think
this one.
That's like really true. Both of them. Like Charlie's making a good point there that it's like,
yes,
he's there. Like it's not just like I'm rich, a party. It's like specifically look at all this stuff gathered from the galaxy that it's like wrong colonially. Like Charlie's British, he knows all about taking shit that's not theirs and stuff. And like
I watched the
John Oliver just did that piece.
today.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah, I watched
just
that
did
video.
that.
Charlie, I say that I am just your guilty little horny Catholic boy. So
that's right.
don't put that on me. Put that on Alden, please.
Bill
Keep
leans into
going.
Charlie and is like, I can hear your heartbeat too.
Woo!
God damn the chemistry in that episode.
God damn.
But yeah,
but
it's
keep going.
it's really like truly heartbreaking, and you get the feeling. He said it to Cassian a couple times. Wouldn't you like to give it all at once instead of a piece being chipped away? Like, I really think that
It's coming from a personal place.
exactly. Unlike Saw, who will fight forever and will Saw is the visual representation of you'll lose a piece every time. Saw, if he could, if there was no attack on Jeddah, would have fought until he was 90 or 100 in the sequel era easily. He would never have stopped. Luthen, I think, is so disgusted with the role that the one percenters and the upper class and the upper crust have played that I think he does want to die doing this. This is penance. Like, it would not surprise me if we find out that Luthen was like a key person that maybe pushed through Palpatine. Maybe he was like a deciding vote when they did the vote of no confidence in Valorum or something. I don't know if he would have had a government tie, but I feel like he's
that'd
got
be so
like
good.
I did this, or I helped do this, or someone I was related to did this, or is Luthen going to have a Roken type thing where maybe his best friend was a Jedi or lover was a Jedi like Roken with his wife, and then or at least Force sensitive, and then it all went to hell, or there's something there that is like Bruce feeling like I
maybe
let my parents die type thing.
I going off that, and this is just pure speculation. What if he was like, when they found out that there was a clone army, like he was like you see in Attack of the Clones that like Jar Jar was the key to all of it, and I love I love saying that every chance I can. But like, what if he was like behind the scenes, like, no, we're gonna build this clone army, we're gonna use this army, and like he was
like lobbying,
what if he was like, this is another bad analogy, like the Dick Cheney of the Iraq War, like kind of, but like with the Clone Wars.
Do you guys get the vibe that Luthen is Vel's dad?
I don't, but I like would be down for that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people thought she was Mothma's kid because we found out she had a kid before we met the child. Whose name, they pointed out on Force Center. I know you mentioned Force Center earlier, but we got
almost Leia.
Her name's almost Leia, which ties in beautifully. Another book that I just have sitting here is Princess and the Scoundrel, because I've been rereading it, and they like make a point in this book. It's excellent. It is excellent, and they've done such a good job with like Kenobi's 3.5 and Shadow of the Sith is 6.5. This is like a solid, like this is like 6.1, 6.2. Like it's like, it feels like Return of the Jedi, the epilogue, in a really good way. Like Princess and the Scoundrel.
You just pitched that to me in the best way. That was a pitch for me.
Let me tell you, without spoiling it, there's a scene. I'll tell you what happens in the scene where Han has, spoiler alert, I guess, for the premise that they're gonna get married, and they're throwing a party in the Ewok village. Han, Lando, Luke's there. All the Ewoks are like, "Yo, you didn't invite us," and they start getting down. Like, really, that's a plot. Like, Chief Chirpa's like, "You can't have a party here without inviting us." And all these Ewoks show up, and they all can't live. Meanwhile,
no party like an Ewok party, because an Ewok party involves space peyote.
It ain't wrong. A fire starts, the whole thing. Meanwhile, Leia's walking around the floor, the forest floor, and she's like, "Why do I feel the same way that I felt when I knew to turn back for Luke? I know he's okay. Why do I feel that?" And this is early in the book, and she walks through the forest and she finds the still smoky and smelly funeral pyre.
Oh, fuck.
And I'm not going to tell you what happens in the scene, but it's
what
that,
the hell? You can't just tell me that.
Essential. It is that intimately like Luke, even before that, chapter 1, Luke's like, "Leia," his last words were, and she goes, "Don't." And he's like, but he wanted me to tell you. And she goes, I don't care. Don't. Like, it's like you get the full on, like, what is the difference? And then also tons of good stuff. But in that, Mothma is one of the first people that finds out that they're engaged. And it's a total mother-daughter moment. And she's like, you're going to marry that rogue. Ah, I'm so happy for you. Like, take time off, have a real celebration. And now knowing that Mothma's daughter and her were on bad terms, it just lands so much harder. It's so good.
Hey, you know, I've been thinking a lot about this. When Mon and Luthen are talking and they're in the back, and we talked about the plunders of colonialism that where it's what's happening around them. She mentions a third party, and like there's one person in my mind that like the third part we need to bring in another party. That's like, I really hope it is, but like maybe it's a fake out. Who do you guys think the third party is, or the other person that Mon wants to bring in? Alden, what do you think?
It's Jedi Master Kelleran Beck from Jedi Temple Challenge.
I knew it.
Which would be unironically the greatest thing. No, but we talked about this on Nights. I've talked about it with Nikki. I talked about it a little bit on Octo. Like, the idea is very compelling. Safe money is always with Gilroy on someone completely original. Like, that's everyone should expect that. He's not a next time on Andor. He's not that guy. If he said something's coming, that's all that means. But you think about the wording of like, this is the inner circle. This is the highest level of trust right now. That to me actually eliminates the Organas because they'd already be there because they were there from the prequel era. Leia at this point is either just now getting in or is about to. Princess of Alderaan, her Rebels episode. They've already clearly established the Ahsoka novel that Ahsoka's a fulcrum for Bail, and so that's 13 years she's been doing that, at least part-time. And then you talk about something like the events of the Kenobi show, and it's like, no, we're getting in the mix. Like, it's they feel like that would be it would be bad. Of course, I'd love to see them, especially with how good Simone Kessel was, because we had Jimmy before, but we never had a Berea that like got to do stuff. So that'd be amazing. I think eliminating them, you start to get into like Rogue One characters, General Draven, and Antok Merrick and his glorious blonde mustache would be amazing. But then Nikki from Imperial Senate podcast and from Rewatch Between Worlds, amongst other things, he rightfully pointed out like we can kind of safely eliminate anyone military too, because like you wouldn't recruit those guys right now for the discreetness. So that really has made me think original character or someone that is truly legitimately unexpected, a huge wow moment, or oh my god, I never thought I'd see them, or an animation to live action like adaptation, like someone like Gal Travis, who we know will betray the Rebels crew later. Like, I don't know. I love the Jar Jar theory. I don't think it's gonna happen. But
God, if it's Jar Jar, fuck, man.
I mean, he was like Representative Binks. I mean, he has a stake to want to get even. We know in Aftermath it doesn't really work.
I was gonna say Aftermath, man. That is such a fall from grace. Even the Rebels were like,
I thought it was Saw,
get the fuck out.
But
Saw could be something, but I feel like he's so on the radar. Like the Aldani people talk about him. Like, I just feel like he's kind of like he's a known quantity. That Luthen, I think, especially by the end of 5, when we see how paranoid he can be, I think he has those moments of like probably looking at Saw, like probably keeping track of him. Saw's been so loud, even in Bad Batch. He like had his camp and he didn't really care that like the government had changed. Like, so I think that I don't know. If you want like wild predictions, a real moment of like incredible like corporate synergy. We didn't realize we were actually gonna set that up and pay it off. Quinlan Voss. It would be like one of those. Like, we know he's on the path out there, or is this going to be Roken? And you age up Ice Cube Jr. just a little bit, little gray in the beard, and that's it. I know he has a name, O'Shea Jackson Jr. I'm joking. I don't want anyone to think I just reduced him to being Ice Cube's kid.
No, I call him Ice Cube Jr. all the time. That is exclusively what I refer to him as. Roken or Ice Cube Jr.
Charlie has the definitive answer. It's B.
Well,
Arthur. It's definitely B. Arthur.
There's
Fuck
no
outta here.
better way to spend money than bringing B. Arthur back from the dead, like
That's
they did with
true.
Tarkin. That would
That's
be
true.
worth every penny. I think he's also said Bistan, which would be or Bistan or Bistain, depending on who you ask.
The space monkey.
Biston.
Yeah,
Biston the space monkey.
Bistan, of course. Jared can never just have the pronunciation I have. There's always some other one. Bistan would be cool. Is there anyone else that I'm forgetting? I know which one would make Ken Knapsack have a heart attack. Trey, you probably know.
Hey Trey, who do
I don't
you
think I
think
finished the episode.
Luthen and Mon see from across the room and really dig their energy?
You're saying that about Trey is that person that they would
No,
take his
do you-
energy?
who do you think
Oh.
it's going to be? Who's
Well,
going to be
my
the third?
My joke there, Trey, it's not something that he said, but I was thinking like how much Ken loves Admiral Radis.
Oh, I was gonna say
Oh,
maybe Rio
dude.
Durant.
Dude,
Oh,
if
fuck
Rio-
yeah.
No,
Rio
Rio
Durant.
Durant.
This is a
He
real
was the fakest
Durant
death.
Dead already.
podcast.
Rio faked his death, man.
Absolutely.
I thought that's what Bill was alley-ooping to me. I'm not sure what if
What
it
if
wasn't
it's,
Rio, who it was.
What if it's Kira and Mothma makes a horrible miscalculation and Luthen was right to not want to bring her in the circle and she
So
messed
she
things up?
missed him.
Okay, here we go. If we're doing solo, Enfys Nest.
God, I
Memphis
hope.
would be really cool.
I hope.
Yeah.
That's such a good one. And that would pose
That would make sense.
That would pose interesting questions because for Mothma's point of view, it's like here's a young woman that we could probably like steer toward like discreetness. And Luthen might say she might actually be a little too sloppy for the inner circle, but I like her style. I like that she'll get
See,
out there.
that's my
like,
thing. Is like I want to
Where-
see.
Where is it in the
cannot-
timeline? Like first, where's Solo and where is
Solo's
Andor?
4 years prior. Well, Solo
Yeah.
has a time
then
jump.
yeah.
The beginning of Solo is
10 years.
yeah.
before.
Solo is it's 13 and then 10. This is 5. So this has been a few years before.
Okay.
Solo is 9, 10, like it's somewhere in there. Basically, the creepy realization that I came to the other day, which is that the Alden Ehrenreich Han and the Vivian Lyra Blair Leia exist at the same time.
Ooh.
Which is just that puts that age gap into whole new depths of hell.
Don't think about it. and you'll
Okay, here
be
we go.
fine.
Anyway,
Truly.
keep going.
No, one of the things I'm super excited to see is the interplay between the more radical part of the rebellion versus your Mon Mothmas who want to play it civilly. Like, I want to see the Enfys Nest and the Saw Gerreras because, frankly, they're right.
Doesn't that make
You
you
would
just
say
as
that.
bad?
Yeah, I'm equally
We're
bad.
not. Let's not do this, please. Can we not do this? I love y'all, but please don't.
Grand Moff Tarkin, Saw Gerrera, Alderaan, Jeddah, Topeka City. The list goes on and on. Accidentally blew up like a transport one time. Anyway, no, I've been really looking forward to seeing those. I've been looking forward to seeing the conflict between, like in live action, Forrest Whitaker and Genevieve O'Reilly in the same room, looking at each other, talking about like, oh, we're not ready to move against the Empire in a paramilitary sense. And Saw Gerrera just like lighting a cigarette and cocking a blaster. Like,
They're extremely different.
Because there has to be that falling out. Like there has to have at least been a brief period where they were chill,
yeah,
or at least workable. Like
at least workable. And then Mon Mothma has to see the Saw Gerrera's bug fuck crazy.
yeah, where it's like, yeah, I mean, what if
That's
it's
why I
what?
like him.
Yeah, like
You
I
would definitely Saw Gerrera. Jared would definitely be Saw. Out of all
oh
of us.
for sure. I mean, there was that thread that was.
I'd be the Jedi turned Saw Gerrera. I'd be Rom Coda.
who?
which is
Oh my
basically-
god, that's the most accurate thing I've ever heard in my life. My goodness. Wow, you just put your entire being into perspective. And in fact, you have long hair. You should do a Rom cosplay. That'd be the coolest thing.
There it is. That's hot. That's
Um,
Get the Rom bun.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Months of attacking Imperial targets, and Vader sends a boy to fight me.
dude, he's so cool. Yeah, it's interesting to think about because it's like these characters all sort of have to, like, it's something that, like, going back to like, how do you feel about Andor? Like, one of the things I love about it is that you see it a lot, especially in 4 and 5. The rebels have nothing. They're literally drinking sheep milk and sleeping in hammocks, and they have to choose a trust, even if there's a fragile trust. And that makes it a hard choice to make because it is fragile and because they have nothing. The Empire has everything. The sexiest building in that part of Coruscant is the ISB building. It looks cool. It's clean. outfits all on point, briefcases, like they've got it all, every tool, every ship, everything, and they have no trust for each other. And you could see the way that their Monday morning meeting is just people stabbing each other in the back, undercutting each other. You're not rewarded for actually knowing that's true. In fact, that should be like the next Scum and Villainy. You'll do gangbusters in Hollywood. Cast everyone as a rebel. Go. Oh man. So Ram Koda counts.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Ram Koda? I don't know who that is.
Oh,
he's the old guy Jedi from the beginning of The Force Unleashed. That
you blind them at the beginning.
Blinds.
Yeah.
I actually know that part. But
yeah, like
gray hair, gray beard.
Jedi.
His whole thing was that he was a Jedi that during the Clone Wars, he wasn't like Pong Krelling it and like hated the clones,
wasn't he?
But he didn't trust clones and preferred to have a militia of enlisted dudes. So when Order 66 went down, there was no one to kill him. And so he just continued on.
And did a lot of space terrorism.
Quite a bit.
But cooler than Saw Gerrera.
I could see that being Jared,
yeah.
Space terrorism with a lightsaber.
Jared, space terrorism, absolutely.
Listen, if you're going to kill Nazis, in space, do it with a lightsaber.
Big hurt.
That should be the next TNAB shirt.
Speaking of
Just that
Nazis
quote.
in space.
It's a picture of me holding a lightsaber. If you're gonna kill space Nazis.
I feel like Bill is probably somebody cool and sexy, like Antok Merrick.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So we were talking a little bit about the Imperial side. We talked about the ISB people. Let's talk about the Imperial parts of the show. I think what's the guy's name who is
Major Partagaz?
Yeah, the guy. He's the
played
guy
by,
who
Anton Lesser, Qyburn.
Yeah. So we've got him, and I think we've got Commander Mitra or something like that. What do we think about the Imperial aspect of it? Why do you think they're showing us the Imperial part of it? Do you think that's just to show, like, these are the bad guys, who's going to come after Andor? Do you think they're setting up some kind of turn? Because I don't know. What do you guys think about the Imperial side of the show so far?
I'll chime in real quick because I'm going to have to boogie here soon.
Boogie, baby.
I think get jiggy. I think it's great. I love it. I think we get a great peer into the Imperial war machine. As Alden was saying earlier, where the rebellion needs to choose to trust each other against all odds in many cases. The Empire is nothing but social climbing and fanaticism, where you have the rebellion that is, dedicated to liberation and to a selfless cause. The Empire is a structure that is built for people to climb a ladder where you get to send more and more people to die for you. The higher up you get, the more people you can command to go die for you. Within the Rebel Alliance, the odds of you dying for the entire galaxy are so astronomically high. You need to make peace with that going in. And it's one of those beautiful ways that the rebellion and the Empire are just polar opposites. And so often with Star Wars and fiction in general, you get like people are mirrors of each other, or like it's the same thing but reversed. These are just opposites. Yeah.
It's like they cannot, and it's what Cassian says to Luthen. They cannot, not like building off of that. He says they can't conceive that somebody like me can get in their house. But the overall, like going back to George all the way to now and every Star Wars creator, they can't conceive that they can lose. That's why the Death Star gets blown up. They cannot even process. That's why Ezra can beat Thrawn just by being in touch with nature. That's what beats him. It's just that Ezra's in touch with something else. And that's why I love that they're teeing up. There's going to be this natural phenomenon. Doesn't matter that the Empire took over the planet. The phenomenon happens anyway. Like hearing about the manifesto, hearing about the Eye of Aldani, hearing about the way that the shepherds were shifted away from their homes and all moved into one little area on the planet. You can hear the Ewok horns blaring like in your soul. Like you want these to get eaten. Like it's so yes. That's true. And I love building on Charlie's point. Like it's everything is a dagger. They're all undercutting. Partagaz doesn't discount Deidre's concerns because he thinks she's wrong. It's that she's out of her lane. You're an enforcement person. You do your numbers, you do your thing, you do them well. That's it. There's no initiative that is encouraged here because the imperial philosophy, to answer your question, Bill, why are they showing this? To make the distinction of like how these bosses sleep at night and what they actually tell themselves to buy into the bullshit. Like when he says, yeah, I know what the description of the job is. What we actually are is healthcare. That was a really scary moment.
Oh, yeah.
To see somebody from their side frame it that way. We're healthcare. We're here to identify germs and disease and whatever he says. It's a really startling thing.
Jeez.
No, absolutely. I agree with you completely. And, you know, like I said, it's just, I also, and again, it's like the varying levels of fanaticism, you know, that you see, you see people who are like, this is my career. I have to do it well to like succeed. And then you have someone like Cyril who like, and that's another fascinating, like dynamic as well. You have someone like Cyril who like he's dedicated to this. And all his mom's talking about your future prospects. He didn't give a shit about his future prospects. His heart was in this. He's a bastard. He's a bastard and deserves to be brought to justice or undo his evils. But his heart's in this. He believes what he's doing.
Yeah.
Where you have someone like Deidre who's like, you know, I'm here. This is my job, and I'm going to do it well because then when I do the job well, I get stuff. And when I get stuff, eventually I get enough stuff that I can stop doing things. And when I have enough stuff to stop doing things, I can be happy. You know, where it's that like the banality of evil versus like someone who's dedicated to the cause. It's great. This is some really good Empire material. That said, this is where I leave you, gentlemen.
Boo.
Hashtag spew. Smoke pussy, eat weed, baby.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
May the force be with you all.
And with your spirit.
Yes. The Nerd
With
Academy
your
podcast.
spirit. And then they said, and with your spirit.
Spirit.
And with your spirit. God, he put on such a good show. I did not really get a chance to talk about it. He put on such a good show. I cannot wait till that shit's a comedy special.
I'm
It was
excited.
so
Was that the one that did they film yours or they're filming a different one?
Is
Oh, they
that
probably filmed the
Mulaney?
garden ones, I would guess.
Yeah, that's definitely where it's going to get taped.
Yeah.
But-
You
oh
saw
my God.
Mulaney recently.
Ugh. God.
You saw Spider Ham.
He closed. This is the only spoiler I'll give. He closed with him reading an interview he gave GQ while he was coked out of his fucking mind.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Street
It's
smarts.
so great. It's street smarts. Throw you off his rhythm. Anyway, the Nerd Academy podcast where we won't throw you off the rhythm.
Plug it.
Go check all that out. Ionized Bastards on all remaining systems.
Yes, sir.
And remember, kids, if you're gonna kill Nazis in space, do it with a lightsaber. I think that might be how I end podcasts now.
It's a good one. a good
Until things get taken down because of violence in terms of service. Anyway, good night, y'all.
Yeah.
Have a good show.
Good night. Love you, baby.
Love ya.
Trey, what do you think about the Imperials on Andor so far?
So I'm wearing an Iron Maiden shirt right now. But my
Fair
favorite
enough.
band is Pink Floyd.
Thanks for the
And I
distinction.
was talking to our Lord and Savior, the King of Twitter himself, Scotty Jarrow, just about how sort of the way that the Empire is talked about and perceived in the show is sort of like how Pink Floyd, the album The Wall, talks about the man, like another brick in the wall is a great example of that. It's just like everyone's just lit like they're keys in this cog that turns the system. And like the Empire is just it's the man. It's the system that isn't really out for the good or anything. It's just they're so fat and so prideful, and like that's what I think of them. And it just kind of reminds me of the way that Pink Floyd kind of talks about like the system that we're all in and that kind of thing. And I think that's pretty cool to me. I like seeing the people in the Empire. One of my favorite books of all time, Lost Stars. We get to see the people in the Empire, and I think it adds layers to those characters. You understand why they made those choices. You don't support the choices, but you understand maybe why they're in the Empire and like why they are doing things for a certain reason. And I think Alden said this, but like seeing the ISB office, I guess, on Coruscant, extremely cool. Seeing everything on Coruscant, extremely cool. And it's just like we're getting such a great in-depth look at the formation of the rebellion, but I forget the character's name, the Deidre, Ellen. Like it's
Ellen.
almost like
You did
it's
not.
almost
You did.
Degenerous? Degenerous.
Ellen,
I can't not see it.
ISB agent DeGeneres. That actually
It's
sounds
the
legit.
agent
That
who
sounds
hates
real.
Dakota Johnson.
Actually, that's not true.
Madam Web.
That's not true, Deetra.
That's not
I
true.
invited you.
That's,
I invited you to my birthday.
that's not true,
Uh,
Cassian.
You were
That's
invited.
not true.
Her whole like to me this last episode, she was talking about like sort of finding the rebellion, like finding pockets of the rebellion across the galaxy. But she wasn't doing that to destroy the rebellion. She was doing that just to get a promotion. And I think that's so much of like the Empire in this show, how they're shown. They not. I don't personally think a lot of them care. Like obviously they care about the cause because it's their jobs, but I think a lot of it is just infighting and just to get a leg up on another person. And through doing that, they're like, putting down these pockets of the rebellion. But kind of just wrapping my point up, I think it's really cool the perspective we're seeing from the Empire in this. They're very gluttonous and they don't think that anything can go wrong. Like I think the Empire is very kind of like Alden said, the way that Ezra beat Thrawn was Thrawn never even thought Ezra could beat him in any way, shape, or form. And that's sort of how the rebellion is being born now. So it's really cool. I think Tony Gilroy gives a really good perspective of this sort of evil. And yeah, I'm really digging it.
And I kind of want to go off everyone's points here because I think that
off that.
Speaking of that, I think that the reason they're showing, I think it's two pronged. I think eventually, I think the serial guy is going to probably have a turn to. He's going to have some last heroic act to help the rebels at some point. But I think just showing the difference between the rebels and the Empire at this point, seeing the people that are like in it, like you said, Alden, the rebels, they're in Scotland, they're drinking goat or sheep milk just to survive. And like, there's 6 of them, 7, however many of them there are.
And it's taken like 5 months for a 9-minute mission.
Yep, exactly. And then you have all the resources of the Empire. You have showing the difference between those two, I think, is stark. And I think showing that is important because then once you finally have the payoff in this next episode where, like you said, it's going to be this big guitar solo, I think showing that off is important. And it means a lot to the story. So it's interesting to me that they're showing these different characters, and they're doing it in an interesting way. But this is kind of a cheeky question for you, Alden. Are rebels as bad as fascists?
I'm gonna really like plumb the depths of my soul and in the most nuanced way possible say no.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Hot take.
That's breaking news here on.
Don't like
Skywalking
put that
King
out
Elite.
and put it
No,
anywhere. I don't like.
Don't know, clip it.
It's really
I know.
touchy.
It's
I
difficult.
don't think we've ever clipped this show. Like,
We should. This will be
maybe
the first one. This will be the first and only one.
The one where we say don't clip that ends up being the
Don't
first
clip
one.
it, and then we clip it.
That's the key.
Absolutely.
That's the
It's
skywalking way.
It's the key to all this. So I kind of just want to wrap up on these on this episode, and talk about just overall ending thoughts. Anything we want to end with. Where do you think the show goes from here, and what are you most excited to see, Trey?
With Kenobi.
Yeah, with Kenobi.
That show was. Yes, we are getting back into the show that finished. With Kenobi, that show is kind of pitched as the rematch of the century. So like I think we all kind of knew like where that was heading. And with Andor, I really have no idea. We know the point that Cassian gets to by Rogue One, but I feel like this is a Star Wars show that I don't exactly know how to say it, but it doesn't feel like as much of a Star Wars show. Like I'm not super into learning everyone's names super specifically and stuff. Like I'm still struggling with some of the characters' names, but this general plot, I have no idea where it's going. And I really, really, really like that. I like that Cassian almost doesn't feel like the main character for the last 2 episodes.
Whoa,
Like
whoa. It's called Andor, right? Remember,
Cassian Andor.
titles are very important. If you deviate from that, then you didn't sell me the show that you promised me, and I'm going to be very upset. Anyway, continue.
Based Alden take.
Thank you.
But
I'm going to clip that out and just respond to my own shit with it all the time. Based on the take.
Great. But no, I mean, like, I don't know where this is going, and I'm really excited about that. I think there are some twists coming, and I'm excited for that. I'm almost watching this show as if I'm not a huge Star Wars fan because I don't want to like think ahead too much. I'm kind of struggling explaining exactly what I'm thinking, but I've loved everything so far, and I can't wait for the rest. I think like Alden was kind of saying, my only thing is like these are such small pieces of this giant story that sometimes it's hard getting it like a weekly release. I think I struggled with that with Star Wars Rebels when it came out. I viewed each episode weekly, and then when I go back and watch them all, I guess binging, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, why was I frustrated at any point? I'm not frustrated with Andor at all. I'm just really eager to see what's coming next.
Mm-hmm. Alden, what about you, bud?
Yeah, I think that I'm in agreement with a lot of what you just said, Trey. Like these ideas that we've sort of talked about of like it's decompressed, right? Is the word that I keep using. Where like you look at that first arc, and something like Bix tells them about the buyer, and then it's Luthen, and the second episode Luthen gets there, but they don't meet till the third one. If this was Kenobi or the Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett or Clone Wars or any of the shows, that would have been one, maybe 45-minute episode. We would have just been like, the buyer's coming, and then he would have gotten there. Boom, 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 boom. And this is doing what comic books started to do in the 2000s, where suddenly it was like, hey, why just do a 5-issue story about Daredevil? It was actually a great example and a timely one. It's like old school Daredevil under Stan Lee, and then under the writers after that, going up into Miller and like Anna Senti, like all that stuff is like, we're going to tell a Daredevil adventure. Then in the 2000s, it was, we're going to tell a Daredevil saga. And it's going to take like 40, 50 issues for us to really like unpack the soul of what's going on. And this is sort of Star Wars doing that, where
that's an interesting way to put that.
Yeah, like it's like
I've read a lot of Daredevil, and I understand that.
Yeah, it gets to that point, and you get to that point in Daredevil where you're like, it's Bendis, but the Bendis through Wade, like Bendis, Brubaker, I think Winnick's in there, Rucka, all those runs are people just like, oh man, like it's an issue just for someone to make a decision, just to get to the next thing. And we started to put way more dialogue in comics in the 2000s. Whereas the Marvel method is famous for, it's called the Marvel method. They used to just draw action to get ahead on the publishing schedule and stay up to date, and then pass it to writers. They would inverse everything and just get the general ideas. This is Star Wars, not at all Marvel methoding. And they even kind of Marvel method on Mandalorian. The volume lets them previs and lets them map out action, and then they make everything. That way they're always ahead. That way they can shave off time. This is like, there's no way to cut a corner around two people talking about pain. Like somebody talking about their brother committing suicide. Suicide was discussed in this. Like, he lost his farm and he put stones in his pockets and everything. And that's how I interpreted that. I don't know if that's like,
no, that's,
I'm remembering that, right?
How else could you take it? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, I know that's people like, I thought maybe like, well, is it that he couldn't fight but no, that he killed himself. I had that moment. Like, it was so early in the day. I'm watching at 3 a.m. that I was like, am I like,
did he kill himself?
Grasping that? And yeah, like you can't, there's no way to make that slam bang and quick. It has to be what it is. So, and I respect, frankly, the balls on them for doing this. Like the day before I got to see the episodes, I was talking to somebody from the Lucasfilm side of things who was like, didn't spoil anything, has been on Ox Radio before, but they were like, yeah, it's different in a good way.
Mhm.
Like, we made something, this is going to be a special one. And it really does feel that way.
It if it's been special and different for 5 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
there's no doubt in my mind that it will continue to be different and take us in different directions for the rest of it and for the next season as well. So that's kind of where it's going to be surprising. It's going to be unexpected. I kind of like where Charlie, I'm going to pull up Charlie's comment. I kind of like where he brought up where he wouldn't be surprised if we see the heist succeed, Cassian celebrate and feel happy, and then there's been a mining disaster with those locals, and they all like you show the consequences of it. Like
it's always, it can't just be a win, right? Like this is and we've talked about that in Star Wars, and it's there. We won at Endor, but there was still a year of fighting until Jakku. We did this, but there was still this. This might be the thing that like shows that.
We know leading up into A New Hope, there's been no like the first rebel victory was
Scarif.
So like there's going to be a lot of loss.
Unless you're counting the Battle of Adelon and surviving as a victory, like I do. But yeah, no, you're right.
There are no moral victories in
the moral victories. The victories of togetherness. Yeah, no, it was not a good time.
All our forces may have died, but like we're here.
We live. That's a victory in and of itself. Callus with his black eye. Like, I disagree. People that have lost everyone. I disagree. Real quick, not to like take the steering wheel, but I just had an idea.
Take it.
Let's do the Deadpool. Who are we losing on this? Because ain't no way that everybody comes out on the other side.
Cassian.
Yeah, we're losing. I love it.
Agreed.
Great start. We're losing Manifesto Guy. We're losing.
Oh, he's so dead.
He is.
He's
I was
so
talking
dead.
to a friend of both of our shows, Boop, and Boop texted me and was like, "So he's gonna eat it, right?" I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, 100%. No, that like
he's too pure and too smart and too aware of the series that he's in to survive. I also think that Lieutenant Gorn.
Yeah, he's got to like he's gonna be found out, and he's gonna be killed. like I don't know why I'm laughing at that, but like just it's gonna be bad. So I'd say Cousin, Manifesto Guy, and Lieutenant Gorn.
Well put.
Oh, Cousin, no. Oh, yeah,
no.
Cousin behind.
Yeah.
Who puts ketchup on a hot dog? Children.
It's so good. Sorry about the gun, babe. I had to get real. or my favorite is I can say the F word on here, right? I know we've sworn a little
absolutely.
bit.
Fuck that. Yeah, absolutely.
When he's like gets to work, what's up, you fucking replicants? Like there are lines that Richie says throughout there that tell you how much of an 80s kid he is without him being too nerdy about you could tell he's the type of character that like doesn't want to be a nerd. But some of the stuff that he says, it's like no one just does a Blade Runner reference casually like that. Oh, what a good character. Yeah, his brother's dead. I don't want him to die too. But yeah, I really hope that they don't kill Vel I don't think Vel will die because I think we see her talking to Mothma in the trailers. But Cinta, I don't want her to go because that opens up you give the queer community like a nibble and then you kill one. You can't do that. So, but yeah, or this other guy, the Taraman, who's like the second in command.
I like him a lot.
He's cool.
I wonder when Bix comes back.
We'll see.
Yeah, I was glad that they set up
season 2, right?
Yeah, she's gonna be there, and I think that the whole like showing that an office is being set up on Ferrix, that whole like this will be your headquarters. I think that was them telling us like, don't worry, there's gonna be Bix, Marva, B2.
You don't waste Aunt Petunia for like 2 episodes. Like
you're right about that.
And I'm so bad. I feel so bad. Like I feel so bad. I don't know these actors' names and a lot of these characters' names, but I'm just like, that's just Aunt Petunia, or that's Cousin, but yeah.
Absolutely. Trey, do
And
you?
Vel
go
is
ahead.
the psycho that stabs Arya in Game of Thrones. Spoilers, Trey.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I haven't had 10 years to watch.
No.
House of
Oh,
the Dragon slaps.
it
I'll say
really
that.
does.
I have
This
only seen 5 episodes of Game of Thrones. Alden has a phenomenal podcast about it. But I'm enjoying House of the Dragon. Like,
Me
not
too, man.
exactly knowing anything. Jess, my lovely girlfriend, her biggest fandom is Game of Thrones. So she's like explaining to me sort of the way that I'm explaining Andor to her. So it's been pretty cool.
Absolutely. And
well,
I
Jess
agree.
is smarter than you and Bill and me and everyone that
That's
we
true.
know. Really,
That's
so
true.
that
100%.
tracks.
Listen,
True
that.
bestie.
Anyway, with that is our episode. Alden, plug all the things, man. You've got a lot of great podcasts. You do a lot of great work. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me personally right here at that Alden Diaz, THATALDENDIAZ, Twitter and Instagram, Octo Radio, Star Wars Podcast. That's our few shows. Oh my God, is that Sienna?
I want to see. There she is.
Look at that face. Look at that snoot. I love her long snoot.
Sweet girl.
Adorable.
You want to say hi to the people? She had diarrhea all last night. It was rough.
Nice. Look at the face, the casual, like.
Why would you say that?
Yeah,
because I'm on no sleep.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you can find me. Send me all your dog photos. I love dogs. And then I do Castrally Talk as well as Octo Radio. Octo Radio, like I was saying, is all the Star Wars shows. There's a few programs there. We're doing Andor reviews right now. And then Castrally Talk I do with Ken Knapsack, and I'm co-host over there. Man, the myth, the legend, co-host of Force Center, comedian, author of Why We Love Star Wars. And he and I do Rings of Power. We do House of the Dragon. There's a Game of Thrones rewatch that happens there. It's a fantasy catch-all channel. I'm pushing for Willow, and I think I'm gonna win that. I think we are gonna do Willow. And then I recently had an article on Star Trek, and I'm hoping to do more of that at some point. And just find me on the internet making boomers feel threatened. I don't know. What else? And worshiping Bill.
That's a great tagline.
And worshiping Bill. Being a friend of Clan Sheehy. You guys were a clan, right? Probably like 200 years ago. You're from that region.
Well, like I said, when the Queen died, we were Scottish mercenaries who tried to kill the Queen in the 1600s. So mission accomplished.
The long con.
It was the long con. Yeah.
The longest of cons.
The longest. But yeah, thank you once again for joining us, Alden. Trey, where can the people find you, my good friend?
You can find me on Twitter at the Trainator. I also have a film podcast that I do every week. I enjoy. This week's episode was about the new movie Bros. Billy Eichner's new movie, rom-com, and I had our friend Mark Perez on that episode, and we talked about that movie, and I think it was a really fun, really good, important conversation. So you can find that on Twitter at 5280 Cinema, and then
I have some news that I've apparently gotten it wrong.
You have some news.
My dear sister has informed me we were horse thieves, you idiot.
And you're an idiot.
So
when you said you had some news, I was like, news? What the hell? News now?
We were horse thieves.
You were horse thieves. But whose horses? The Queen's, I'm assuming?
The Queen's horses, I hope. Like,
so you still kind of won.
Cool. So we still kind of won, yeah.
She can't have horses if she's dead.
That's right. Good point. Fair enough. Anyway, with that, y'all can find me on Twitter at Star Wars Bill. If you're not already following Skywalking Through the League on Twitter, we are at SkywalkingTL. Thank you guys so much for listening. And as always, Godspeed, Rebels.